Hey, hey, welcome back to The Awakened Heart, a podcast for neurodivergent and trauma experienced women. I'm Autumn Moran, licensed professional counselor, 500-hour yoga trained yoga instructor, certified life coach, and ultimately a fellow neurodivergent trauma experienced woman. And today, we're asking a big question that comes up in healing, and that is, who am I now? Not who you were before the trauma, not who you became to survive it, not who you were performing for decades to make other people comfortable. Not the mass version, not the people-pleasing version, not the fawning version. Who am I now? After burning it all down, after the rage, after the reparenting, after all of it, who is the person that's emerging? For me, it it was a question that came out. It was very obvious to me, like, who am I now if I'm not doing all these things or playing these parts or caregiving to the degree? And I just realized I had to work on it. Now, after the work, after all the questions, after all the trying, after all getting to know me, I feel calm, like actually calm, not performing calm, not performing fine, not medicated into calm, not numb to the point of stillness, like real calm, secure in myself in a way I genuinely didn't know was possible. The constant humming of anxiety is all gone. The things that used to haunt me in my mind, in my body, in my sleep, those memories are still there, but they no longer hurt me. They're just memories now, not weapons, not wounds that reopen every time I brush up against them. I now know what I want. I have a sense of direction. I'm less frantic at living life. Hustle is not my mode anymore. Having faith and taking the necessary steps is my method now. If I think it and feel it, it's mine. If I want to build a business, I can. If I want to share my stories, I do. Without the imposter syndrome, without the fraud feeling, without waiting for someone to give me permission. That's who I am now. I'm still becoming, still discovering, but recognizably, undeniably, I am myself. And that's what today is about. I want to first start with the part nobody really talks enough about, the terrifying, disorienting, necessary phase of not knowing. For many of you, not knowing who you are was part of your numb season. The disconnection, the going through the motions, the performing a life that did not quite fit. That was you surviving without knowing yourself. And then comes rage, and it burns things down, relationships, dynamics, versions of yourself that were never really you, places and people and patterns that had to go. You have to burn that shit down. And in the aftermath of all that burning, in the space where everything used to be, there's a moment where you look around and think, okay, now what? Who am I without all of this, without all of the people? The confusion in this phase isn't abstract existential crisis. It's very specific. Very specific. Sometimes the confusion is, I don't know what I want. Outside of feeling happy and safe and done with the pain, I don't know what I actually want my life to look like. Sometimes the confusion is, I don't know how to be without caretaking, without putting everyone else first, without organizing my entire existence around other people's needs and comfort. I don't know who I am when no one needs anything from me. That can be quite confusing. The moment you start living for yourself, like really living for yourself, two things arrive simultaneously: freedom and guilt. Freedom because you're finally changing, finally choosing, finally living on your own terms. But you have that guilt because changing the dynamics, putting yourself first, setting limits, leaving relationships that only work because you were caretaking, that hurts people or at least disrupts them. And you've spent your whole life making sure nobody was disrupted by your needs. It goes to that I'm easygoing. I've always been easygoing. I don't know why I can't let it go now. Girl, we were never easygoing. We were just fawning and people pleasing and staying small and quiet and smiling and making sure everyone else was okay. If we were true to ourselves, we would have had something to say in the moment. We would have had boundaries to put down so many times. So don't say you're easygoing when you're not. That's just us programmed to say we're fine when we're not. Because when someone says they're fine, I'm fine, things are fine. FINE, fucked up, insecure, neurotic, emotional. Pick one. I'm probably feeling it if they fine is the answer. So let's not practice fine. And then there's rage, and the rage isn't just at others, it's at yourself, right? Because underneath the confusion is often rage, the realization that years, sometimes decades, were spent catering to others, taking care of everyone else, being everyone's everything while quietly disappearing. So that rage can be at others, and it can also be at yourself too, for allowing it, for not seeing it sooner, for being so good at taking care of everyone else that you forgot to take care of you. Let that rage be there. It belongs. And then let it become fuel for the building of what comes next. Most of us started masking in childhood before we had language for what we were doing. Before you understood where certain environments felt wrong, why social situations required so much effort, why you had to work so hard to appear normal when normal felt like a costume. The mask became so automatic, so wired in, that you stopped being able to tell the difference between the mask and yourself. You just knew you had to act a certain way with certain people, in certain situations, in certain spaces. You thought that was just how life worked, how people worked. It isn't. It wasn't. That was masking, and it was costing you everything. So let's talk about unmasking, because unmasking takes time. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not a moment, it's a process. Slow, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes surprising. You start noticing the mask, seeing when you put it on, feeling the weight of it, the exhaustion of maintaining it. And then once you have that awareness, gradually, carefully, usually in safe spaces first, you start setting it down. One interaction at a time, one relationship at a time, one version of yourself at a time. What you find when the mask comes off surprises most people, because the authentic self underneath isn't some polished, perfect, fully formed person who was just waiting to be freed. She's more like a kid who hasn't been allowed to play, who has preferences and quirks and specific delights and genuine dislikes that she's never been allowed to express. She's the one who has strong feelings about textures and sounds and lighting. She's the one who gets deeply absorbed in things that interest her and couldn't care less about things that don't. She's the one who communicates directly because subtext is exhausting. She's the one who needs more recovery time than the world expects. She's the one who feels things more intensely than most people around her. And she's the one who has a specific, particular, wonderfully unusual way of experiencing the world. That's you, the real you, who has been waiting underneath the mask this whole time. And one of the scariest truths about unmasking is that when you unmask, you will lose some people. Not everyone in your life is there unselfishly. Many people are present specifically because of your caretaking nature. You're people pleasing, you're fawning, you're making yourself available and accommodating and easy to be around. When you stop doing these things, when you show up as yourself instead of as a version that worked for them, some people leave. or you have to leave them, or the relationship shifts into something unrecognizable. That is not failure, that's information. People who can only love the mass version never loved you. They loved what you did for them. The people who stay when you're real, those are your people, and they're worth losing the others to find, right? Identity emergence isn't just about losing things. It's about discovering real, true things. I know I'm capable, actually capable, not capable despite my history, but capable in a full knowledge of it. If I dream it, I can achieve it, that sort of thing. All the hard work, all the healing, it's made me stronger in my mind, body, and soul. I'm not perfect. I'm not without faults, but my lived experience has improved in ways I didn't know were possible. And the more I let go of control, perfection, and performance of success, the better I actually perform, the better I actually feel. The more I've come to know myself, the easier it's become to show up authentically. Here on this podcast, in my therapy sessions, in my relationships, my fierceness and my no bullshit mentality, which were always there, always real, are now accepted and appreciated because I'm in spaces I chose and with people who chose me back. Shit, I divorced. I moved to a new city. I started my own business. I went into private practice. I launched this podcast. None of that happened while I was still performing someone else's version of me. It all happened as I gave myself more and more and more permission to be myself. The more I poured into myself, the more I find I can pour into my joys. Psychology, yoga, family, essentially all ultimately having fun. The more I know who I am, the more I can actually live life. This sounds simple, but it's simple, not easy. Knowing what you actually like, not what you're supposed to like, not what goes with who you're supposed to be, is a significant healing milestone. For me, I like slow mornings. I like my colors, my pinks, my purples, my maroons, my teals. Psychology and yoga are always on my mind. Being near water, collecting seashells, lighting candles, and ultimately making things beautiful. This is who I am. This is who I discovered. I like deep conversations and fierce honesty, and I will never shy away from that. If someone can't meet me with depth and fierceness, that's okay. We're just not a match. I like helping women live on their terms. Like this podcast fills a hole in my soul to just talk to people that want to grow, talk to people that may not be in therapy, talk to people who may want to expand beyond therapy and do more. I like being in my own company. I like hanging out with myself. I like my life. It took efforts to get here. It wasn't just, okay, I'm neurodivergent, I've unmasked, now everything falls into place. It was messy because those preferences aren't small. They're the building blocks of an identity. So how do you actually do this? How do you discover who you're becoming? First and foremost, you need to learn to play. I mean this literally. Play. Color, play board games, watch cartoons, do crafts, garden, ride a bike, go swimming, build something, make something. Do something with no productivity attached and no audience watching. For those of you who never got to play freely as children, whose play was interrupted, conditional, or unsafe, this is reparenting work and identity work at the same time. What you enjoy when no one is watching, when nothing is required, when there's no outcome to achieve, that's who you are. That's the truest signal. Give yourself the play you never got. Pay attention to what lights you up. That's information about who you're becoming. Secondly, you need to get real with yourself. What feels good and what doesn't? What's working in your life and what isn't? What needs to change? And then actually doing the hard work to make those changes happen. This requires honesty without cruelty. This requires the ability to look at your life clearly, your relationships, your habits, your choices, your directions, and see it accurately, not catastrophizing, not minimizing, but seeing it for what it is, and then acting on what you see. That's the part most people skip. The seeing without the acting is just awareness. The acting is identity and emotion. Next up are going to be some shadow work journal prompts, because shadow work is very big in this phase of identity work, identity emergence. These journal prompts are in the show notes, so feel free to run to the show notes to write them down, but I'll read them out and I'll read them slowly because there's quite a few. But this is kind of where you want to go. Who was I before I learned I had to be someone else? What do I actually enjoy when no one is watching, when no one is around? What have I been doing for others that I want to do for myself? Pay attention to the resentment you have for people. What are you resenting them for? It's probably because you're holding more space for them than they are for you. So that's what you need to do for yourself. Hold that space for yourself before you give it away to someone else. What parts of me got buried under the mask? And what's emerging now? What does my authentic self need that I haven't been giving her? Who am I becoming and what does she need from me today? What am I ready to claim about myself that I've been afraid of? Let me scratch that. Scratch. Go back. I'm going to start this one over. This is the last one. What am I ready to claim about myself that I've been afraid to claim? Your freedom, your voice, space, taking up space, solo time, body movement, friend time. Next up are somatic practices. Your body knows who you are before your mind catches up. The practices that help are yoga, especially slow, intuitive yoga where you follow sensation rather than instruction. Your body's preferences are identity information. So when I say slow, intuitive yoga, this is more of like a yin yoga, a restorative yoga class, a trauma-informed yoga class, a somatic healing yoga class. Pilates and Tai Chi, those are practices that require you to be present with yourself in your body without distraction. Swimming, cycling, walking, rhythmic movement that lets your mind settle so something truer can surface. And dance, moving your body without choreography, without an audience, without performance, just feeling what wants to move. Pay attention to what your body gravitates toward. That's your inner child telling you something about who she is. And you need to make new connections. Part of becoming who you are now is finding people who know this version of you. Not the old version, not the mask version, but the real you. Forewarning, this is like dating, but for friends, and it can still feel like an absolute shit show at times. You put yourself out there, someone seems promising, you get excited, it doesn't work out, you feel discouraged. Try again. Keep trying. It's simple, not easy. It's simple in concept and genuinely not easy in practice, especially for us neurodivergent women for whom social connection has always required more effort, more translation, more energy. But it's worth it, because finding even one person who knows and chooses the real you, the unmasked, unperforming, authentic you, changes something fundamental about how you experience your own identity. You become more real to yourself when someone real knows you. So you can find someone online or in person in neurodivergent community spaces, trauma recovery groups and communities, classes and spaces built around your actual interests, yoga, art, whatever genuinely calls to you. This podcast, women who are doing the same work are here. And therapy groups where genuine connection is the whole point. During identity emergence and discovery, there are exciting parts and disorienting parts. The exciting part, you start noticing preferences you didn't know you had. You discover you actually love something you never tried because you were too busy being who everyone else needed you to be. You make decisions from your gut rather than from what other people expect, and it works. You feel the satisfaction of it, of trusting yourself and being right. You show up somewhere as yourself, really yourself, and someone responds to that authentically. And you feel the relief of being known rather than just being accepted. And maybe you wake up one morning and realize the anxiety hum is quieter. The frantic feeling is less. Something has settled. The disorienting part. You don't recognize yourself sometimes. You say something or do something or choose something and think, where did that come from? Is that really me? Old relationships feel unfamiliar. People who knew the old you don't always know what to do with the new you. That's uncomfortable for everyone. Maybe you feel guilty for wanting things, for having preferences, for taking up space, for putting yourself first. The conditioning runs deep within us, and it doesn't just disappear because you've done some healing work. Maybe you question yourself. Is this really who I am, or is this just a reaction to who I was? Is this genuine, or is this another performance in a different direction? The answer to that, both things can be true. You are reacting to who you were, and you're genuinely becoming someone new. The reaction and the emergence aren't opposites, they're the same process. Trust the slow reveal. Trust the preferences that keep coming back. Trust the things that feel good in your body, not just your head. Trust the quiet knowing underneath the noise, because that's you, my dear. Emerging real you. Through play, through getting real with yourself, through somatic practices that let you let your body lead, through making new connections with people who know this version of you, through shadow work that illuminates what has been buried, through the slow, sometimes disorienting, always necessary process of becoming. That's identity emergence. You burn down what didn't fit. You felt the rage of what was taken. And you can still feel that rage. I'm not saying that it's all said and done. Rage still comes up during healing. You reparented the wounded parts. You tended the flame. And now you get to discover who emerged from all of that. She's calmer than you expected, more capable than you believed, more herself than she's ever been allowed to be. This new version of you knows what she wants. She's learning what she likes. She's building something real from the life she's claiming. Find your people slowly and perfectly, worth every awkward attempt. You are becoming. You are absolutely worth meeting. If you like what you hear, if you want a little bit more, I don't know if it's a little bit more, if you just want to learn more about me or have more opportunities to work with me, you can read my links in the show notes. Got a website, got a link tree. There is a healing group coming up in January. I just started the workbook for the 12-week group. I'm really excited about this, gaining on, growing from the last group I had. This will be my second cohort. More information will come as it gets closer. But if you want to secure your spot or put your name down and email down so that you can get information as it comes out in the next few months, feel free to go to the link in my show notes, and on the Linktree website, you can sign up for the group. If you want to work with me one-on-one, whether you're in Texas or anywhere in the world, I offer services for late diagnosed trauma experienced women. You can find out more about that, all that entails, on the links in the show notes. In the next episode, we're going to into another mythology layer, Inanna, and we're going to go into Inanna's descent, the mythology of losing everything to find yourself, the ancient story that maps directly onto this identity emergence work. It's going to be good. Until then, check out the journal prompts in the show notes. Check out the link to a beautiful musical playlist for healing. The first 10 songs are the top 10 songs I picked from all the songs as far as like what helped me through my healing process. So listen to the first 10 if you want, or listen to the whole thing. It's really good. There's some really good musicians on that list, really good songs. And then, yes, there's information on how to work with me, so check that out. Until then, my dears, take the gentlest possible care of your awakened heart and go play something today just for you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.